Snapshot 25w16a is out with more updates for happy Ghasts and changes to Leashes, along with a revert of a controversial bug fix. My name is SliceLime and I'm back from Tokyo to give you a quite late update video about it. Let's start with Leashes. Leashes can now be used to leash mobs together. Sneaking while holding one or more leashed mobs and interacting with another mob will leash all the leashed mobs to the interacted entity instead. This only works when the leash has enough range and you cannot leash an entity to itself. When leashing an already leashed entity, the current leash will transfer to being held by the player instead, although you cannot steal the leash from another player this way. You can also now clip the leashes off of entities by interacting while holding shears, which also works if you place the shears in a dispenser. Interacting with a leash knot on a fence or with the fence itself has also changed. If you are holding a leashed entity that can be leashed to the fence, the leash will transfer over to the fence. If that is not possible for any reason, all the mobs leashed to the fence currently will instead be releashed to be held by the player. Sneaking while doing this means you can only leash things to the fence, not pick up the leashes that are already there. If you interact with a fence knot using shears, or if you punch it, all the leashed mobs will be set free. And if nothing is left leashed to the leash knot, it will disappear. There are changes to how leashes work beyond interactions too. They now render twice as thick, matching how they already looked on Bedrock Edition. Leashes now snap when the holder and the leashed entity are 12 blocks apart, which is up from 10 blocks before. And this distance is now calculated between the center of bounding boxes rather than between feet positions. And when you drag on a leash, the held mob will orient itself towards the leasher more quickly. Leash physics have been reworked, allowing for more stable leash connections, especially when the leashed entity is not on the ground. However, flying with Elytra and holding leashed mobs now break those connections immediately if you use a firework rocket. This also comes with new functionality for the happy Ghast, which can now have large mobs that can be leashed but cannot fit in a boat, and boats themselves leashed in a special 4-leash configuration. When this happens, the leashes are rendered without slack and the Ghast shows a custom layer. Leashing a happy Ghast in particular now also allows for a longer lead before it snaps, up to 16 blocks away. Let's also talk about some happy Ghast bug fixes. Happy Ghasts no longer spin erratically when leashed to a fence. Players in spectator mode no longer make happy Ghasts stop moving when on top of them, and players no longer get kicked for flying while flying a happy Ghast. Happy Ghasts no longer produce footstep sounds when flying close above blocks. The sounds of Ghastlings can no longer be heard from too far away. And the harness items are now sorted correctly in the creative inventory. And some dried Ghast fixes as well. They no longer always face north when generated in the world. Block placing sounds are no longer played when their block states are changed. And the sides of dried Ghast tentacles are now properly culled. Let's move on to some visual news. Clouds now render all the way to the horizon, regardless of what your render distance is set to. Filled maps are no longer blurry, and clocks and compasses now render enchantment glints properly when using the fabulous graphics mode. In gameplay news, a controversial bug fix that happened late in the snapshot cycle for the previous release has been reverted. That fix changed the entity interaction for nether portals to only happen when the entity touched the actual collision box of the portal block, rather than simply being in the block space of the portal. That broke a number of contraptions and has now been reverted. This change comes with a developer's note stating that this might still change at some point in the future when the resulting issues can be dealt with. Examples of things that were broken by that fix include minecarts traveling through portals, entities interacting with portals differently, and the portal collisions now depending on the cardinal direction of the portal. When flying with Elytra, using a firework rocket now always uses it as a boost, even if you are currently pointed at a block. And reloading a professionless zombie villager no longer causes it to randomize its profession. This version also comes with a huge list of bug fixes for visual bugs in the user interface. That includes the title screen not fading correctly from the loading screen, blur being applied to icons for both resource packs, data packs, servers, and single-player worlds. Potions, tipped arrows, and dyed leather armor items now have the right colors in the inventory. The enchantment glint no longer appears on all items of the same type in the inventory. Hovering an item in a bundle now shows it properly, and a number of other layering problems have also been fixed, including item tooltips breaking items behind them, effects and recipe book rendering in front of items, a couple of icon problems with the player report screen have been fixed, and items rendering behind the text in an anvil. Plenty of text rendering fixes as well, including all characters in front of the cursor rendering 1 pixel too far to the left, spectators' names on the player list being rendered wrong, and text background lacking opacity over hotbar icons. The text on a sign now renders correctly when editing the sign and selecting some of it. And some text and background panorama problems have been fixed in the Realms menus. The HUD is now back when in bed, and hitboxes no longer render broken inside the user interface. And scrolling now once again works on the experiments screen. In sound news, the volume level of dirt-related sounds has been adapted to the new volume level of grass sounds. And the ambient sound for dried ghasts now has the subtitle Sounds of Dryness. In addition to that, this version comes with technical news in Datapack version 73 and Resource Pack version 57, with news for shaders and block models. If you're also interested in that, keep your eyes on the channel for a separate video. But that's all for this one. Thank you for watching. If you punch the like button, it unleashes all the leashed up YouTube algorithm mobs. And please do that, because this one is likely to not get a lot of love given that it's so late. My name is Sliced Lime, and I'll see you next time.